had that on loop by mistake. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this very special extra show. I don't know really what to call this particularly, which is why I struggled with the title for the show. It basically says Studio One 6.2 and Studio One Plus Live. I couldn't think of anything else to call it. But anyway, welcome. I hope everybody is doing well. I know it's only been like 2 days since we last saw each other right here on this channel. So, but anyway, I had to keep my lips very, very firmly sealed about what was coming and couldn't talk to you about it all. So, YouTube is once again saying there's no data, which is a bit of a concern. I don't know why that is. It looks like we're receiving. Anyway, I'm just going to carry on and hope that you guys can see me and hear me. Thank you, Sean. All right, so hopefully you guys, there we go. Connection is restored. There we go. All right, so all is good. Anyway, I hope everyone is well. Welcome to this show. This is kind of unplanned, unrehearsed, semi-impromptu, except I kind of decided I was going to do it earlier on this evening. But suffice to say, this show is all for you guys, basically to give you guys an extra look at Studio One 6.2 and some of the new features, maybe even some of the features that I did not cover in my overview video that was published earlier on today. There have been no videos as yet from the dynamic duo over at Presonus, but they will be coming in due course, so I have been told. So for the meantime, you have me and you have Lucas Rudziska. Lucas put out a 5-minute video earlier on today, and I thought to myself, you know what? My video is like 25 minutes and 25 seconds long. How on earth did he manage to get his video to be 5 minutes? And then I watched his video, and then I realized he doesn't talk nearly as much as I do. And that's when I realized, see, this is the thing. Lucas is one of my very, very dear friends, and he's also phenomenally efficient about how he goes about getting things done, and making videos is one of those that he's very, very efficient at. And I'm not. I probably talk way too much in my videos, so that is a kind of learning lesson for me with making videos and doing live streams and stuff. Is I have a tendency to talk too much, and whereas Lucas basically just goes, here it is, new features. Here's feature 1. Here's feature 2. Here's feature 3. Here's feature 4. Here's feature 5. There we go, done, goodbye. I mean, he's not that brutal, but you get the idea. He talks a lot less than I do. And that's probably a good thing, and I could probably do with learning from that. All right, so let's go see who's here. We've got Billy Morgan, John Hawk, we've got Rich Cresswell twice, we've got Kevin's Guitar Stories, we've got Bill Shepherd, we've got Mike Johnson, we've got Carl Draguzziat, we've got Sean Carr, we've got Gardner99, who is rapidly becoming a regular here. We've got J Beats and Waves, who is a new person to the show. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for subscribing and joining the gang. These people, like Kyle and Michael and all of that, they have been around for a long time whilst I've been making these doing these shows. I've been doing live stream shows every week now for about 4 or 5 years, not far off 5 years. And so there's almost 300 live stream shows that I have done in that time. And these guys have been around for most of them. So please say hello and get to know them. They're a fantastic bunch of people, and they will go out of their way to help you. And we've also got Night Writer, who is also new. Welcome to you as well. I'm glad you're here. I hope that what you find on my channel and what you find here tonight is going to help you. If you've got questions, folks, please get them into the chat. Best way to do that is to type at Jonny Lipsham Studios to start with. That highlights my name in red. And when you do that, ask your question after that. And that enables me to separate questions from general conversation that you guys are engaging with, which I love for you guys to do. A few people have already been tagging me, which is good. I've been talking all day, so my voice probably will give out at some point. See, stream's fine. Yeah, it's weird. YouTube basically just said no data, no connection. I was just like, joy. And then suddenly it said excellent connection, which is what we've got now. So we're good. Oh, yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? Peter Morgan says, all good. Excellent. Thank you. Good. Good to know everything is good. Rich Cresswell says he's German. Enough said. Yes, Lucas is wonderfully German. Gregor had one video, Studio One Plus video, and that is on Persona's channel so far. Yes, Gregor did his Studio One Plus video in 1 minute and 31 seconds if you exclude the bumpers at either end of the video. 1 minute 32 seconds. My good grief. I put mine out a couple of hours ago, and it's like 4 minutes. And so I guess the same applies. I talk too much. One day I'll be able to just nail a video in 90 seconds. I'm going to have to learn how to do that. We've got Old School Funk and Soul hashtag here, which is awesome. I'm glad you're here, mate. Good to see you. And we got Bob McGraw as well, who has just come in. So there we go. So yeah, as I say, if you've got questions or there is a particular feature in Studio One 6.2 that you want to see, please let me know in the chat and we will get Studio One up and on the screen and we can take a look and we can talk about those features. Let's see. Bobby Boo says this update didn't have too much for me, but I did see there's some good stuff for other people. Yeah, Bobby, there is actually some mixing stuff, like there's some stuff in there about the dual panners and that kind of stuff. You can have them either locked or not locked. I think that's one of the new features. Let me go and get my guide to remind myself. Let me go find it. Hang on a second. Here we go. And need to press that button there. Make this text big enough so I can see it. And I'll bring it over onto this screen over here. So I can still see the chat. And I need to close that window. Let's see. Because, Bobby, I know you're a mix engineer, so I'm going to go and look directly at what's available for mixing. Well, for a start, there's the ARA features, which makes using things like Vocaline and Melodyne quite a bit easier to use. Basically, you can now just drag and drop them in, which is very, very cool. I did feature that in my video, well worth checking out. I didn't really take a look at the macro organizer and toolbar improvements, mostly because I really don't use macros very much. And Lucas actually, go check out his video because he does a really good demonstration of those macro organizer and toolbar improvements. So you'll get a lot of good information there from him. I'm looking for mixing because I know that there are some mixing features. Let me scroll through until I find them. Yeah, I can't find them. I know they're here. Give me a second, folks. Macros. Dropout protection. Yeah, being able to turn off dropout protection was quite a big feature request for some people. Because basically what they wanted was they wanted an option where, if they have a really, really powerful computer, like loads of RAM, like there are people out there who have like 128 gigs of RAM and they have like 20 cores of CPU that are all like 6 gigahertz. And And so, you know, their computers are ridiculous. They don't need dropout protection. Dropout protection was designed for users on, you know, much lower spec computers that are maybe that wee bit slower. Maybe they've only got like 8 gigs of RAM. Maybe they've only got a quad-core i5 machine with 8 gigs of RAM, and, you know, the cores are not really massively faster than about 3 gigahertz, maybe less than that. So that's where dropout protection was designed to really, really help. And the idea behind it was you can basically separate the buffers into 2 basically separate buffers, and it just meant that when you're recording, the only tracks that are in the dropout buffer are the ones that are actually recording. Anything else that is in playback mode is in a different buffer. And it just means that you can use the lowest latency possible for your machine with the lowest amount of dropouts on that other path. So basically the playback path has one latency, one kind of dropout value, and then the recording path has a different, and then they are summed back together again. It's brilliant what they did. It's an absolute work of genius what they did. But now you can just turn the whole thing off altogether. Oscar Von Console says, the new Zoom is going to make my workflow easier and faster. Yes, it definitely does for me. And I think I did a fairly good job of demonstrating that. But we can go back and we can take another look at that for sure. And this time I will have my camera on. There we go. All right, so if you've not seen my video, just in case you haven't, but hopefully you have, and if you haven't, at the end of this show, please do go and check it out. It is 25 minutes long, but I do go into detail on the few features that I do feature in the video, and I use the word features way too many times in that sentence, but I do go into detail and try and show things nice and clearly to everybody. But this is super cool. Because when you have this switched on, and at the moment I have this in the all mode, which is this one here, auto zoom full. This basically means auto zoom both horizontally and vertically. You can have it set to either or, which is great. You don't have to have it set to full. I decided after playing with it for quite a while that I liked it this way. So what this means is when this is set this way, see how my tracks are really, really narrow when the mixer view is open. Now, if I close the mixer view, they automatically expand. And now I have a really, really great view of the events in this particular song. It's not a very long song, but notice how everything is fit to contents. So everything is packed into this view here. So I see all events from beginning to end in this view here. Now I can make this a little bit narrower and I can close the browser. Now I'm even more zoomed in on these events. But if I decide I need to open these for whatever reason, I can do. And if I open the console, now these go nice and tiny. Because my focus is not on the events. My focus is now here in the mixer. And in fact, I could close that over. And this is my focus here. And when my focus needs to be on dealing with a particular audio event, then I can just tap the F3 button on my computer keyboard. Boom, I'm back open here to these nice big wide audio events, and I can go and very, very precisely fix one particular thing, like this spike here. Maybe I decide that this spike here is not loud enough and I want to turn it up. I can easily cut that and do a little gain envelope thing on that event, and then I can go back and maybe just readjust the balance overall to compensate, to make sure that that little peak is loud enough, but that the whole thing is not too loud. So I can do all of that. So we got, what, 29 people here? That's freaking awesome. That is absolutely freaking mental. On a on a Tuesday night, when normally by this time on a Tuesday night I would be tucked up in my bed, snoring my wee head off. But I'm not. I'm sat here talking to you guys because you guys mean the world to me, and Presonus means the world to me, and Studio One means the world to me, and I want to make sure that I share that with you guys and give you guys the best opportunity to look at new features, learn how they work, and learn how to get the best out of them. So that's what we're here for. Dan Wesley says, who would have thought you could have a song stop at the end? I love walking back into my studio after a long lunch to find Studio One is 2 hours into playing my 4-minute song. Yeah, it used to be very, very much like that. And you know what? That is a feature I like as well. Let's go see if I can find a song where I think it was this one that I featured for that. But yes, this new stop marker thing is very, very cool. If you right click it, you now have this stop at marker checkbox. And so basically when this is engaged and when the loop is not engaged, I can play this from like anywhere. Let's say I play this from about here.
Really floats my boat. I really, really love it. Cool doesn't cut it. It really is the best. Check this A flat minor chord. Singing this G flat 7. E flat 7. E flat minor.
And it stops. It's great. I love this. But as I said before, for this particular song, I don't want that because I want it to be able to loop as I want. Now, here's the fun thing. What you used to have to do was right up against your end marker here. You had to create a new marker and set it as a stop marker. Now, when you created a stop marker, you would get that option, that wee checkbox that we just saw in the end marker. So it was like a whole bunch of extra steps just to create a marker that would just stop the song. Now, why is it that the end marker never historically has done that in over 10 years? Actually closer to like 14 years now. But why did that never happen? Well, see, the markers, the start and end markers, were not designed to set out when Studio One should start playing a song, when Studio One should stop playing a song. Basically, the markers were designed, particularly the start and end markers, were designed so that when you export a song and you export it between the start and end markers, it would export between those flags and those flags only. So when you export a mixdown or you send to the project page, for example, you have those set correctly and Studio One would export correctly. That's all they were designed to do. They weren't really designed to stop the song at a particular point. But a lot of people went and thought, hey, let's think about this logically. The end marker is called the end because that's the end of the song. So presumably it would be good to stop at that end marker. Now, the thing you're going to have to bear in mind with this stopping at the end marker thing is reverb and delay tails. If you set that end marker too close to where your events end, you could end up chopping off things like, you could end up chopping off things like reverb tails, delay tails, and all of that stuff. And you could end up kind of ruining your song if you're not careful. So make sure to move this end flag further down the road so that when you are stopping, when you're exporting, it does that and you don't lose your reverb tails. Folks, please make sure you type at Jonny Lipsham Studios first before you type your question. I know it's going to cost you characters out of the 200 that you get available. I don't mind if you carry on over into a second post. That's okay. If you need to do that, do that. It's fine by me, but it helps me identify what's a question and what's not a question, and also so that I don't miss what you've asked and I don't miss what you've talked about, because I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to scroll up a wee bit. Let's see. Old School Funk and Soul says, I've been shying away from Melodyne for having to click load the new click and load. The new drag and drop will make Melodyne more appealing. Yeah, it kind of does do that. Now, here's the thing. Before, you didn't need to click and load. You could just do Control or Command and M, and the Melodyne editor opens up automatically for you. So now, you can still do that, by the way. You can still do the old Command M approach. If that's kind of what your muscle memory is used to, you're used to doing that rather than dragging and dropping Melodyne in. Drag and dropping Melodyne onto an audio event might feel a wee bit weird, because ordinarily you don't do that because you don't want to use Melodyne as an insert. Now, the cool thing is, Studio One is now designed so that it recognizes that Melodyne is an event effects plugin in ARA mode. It's an event effects plugin. So when you drag it, it automatically adds itself to the event as an event effects and not as an insert which appears in the mixer. Okay? It's important that you realize the distinction between the two. So you can now do it either way. You can still do the whole Command M, Control M. You can still do that. But in keeping with the whole drag and drop mentality of Studio One, this is great that you can just drag and drop Melodyne straight on here and it will open up the Melodyne editor just like Command M would do. So, but yes, it does make it a wee bit more appealing. Let's see, what else have I missed? Bob's NY says, either I'm late or y'all are too early. Well, normally we would not have a show on a Tuesday, but this was kind of me just going, hey, why not? Why not? And then tomorrow for Songwriting Simplified, we'll keep the whole Studio One 6.2 and Studio One Plus thing going, but this time from a songwriting perspective. Not that a whole lot has changed from PersonaSphere to Studio One Plus in that respect, but for those of you that aren't familiar with workspaces and things like that, then, you know, we can go over those kind of things. And also the notifications, the extended notifications that you now get from workspaces and from community as well. So if you are a member of PersonaSphere, there is this fantastic community section, which is really, really great. And the cool thing there is if you post something or you respond to a post, you'll now get a comment. You'll now get a notification. So, for example, this one here, Grant mentioned you in a post. Yeah, he says, for the workaround, any idea if the PC monitors or Studio One would be the root cause? Just curious. And that was me addressing a problem that he was having. And he made a post in the community area, and he's responding to what I told him there. So that's really handy because, you know, it just keeps me in constant contact with people that I know in the community. And so I'm never too far away from the community. Sometimes I don't want to be quite so close to the community. I don't mean that in a bad way because you guys are awesome. You guys are the loveliest people on the planet. But what I mean is, if I want to bury my head in my work and get my head down and get work done, I can just quite happily ignore these. Now, what will happen is when you get a new notification, you'll get like a red number above your little avatar here. And that'll stay there until you click on that. So if, you know, it's the thing that's just going to kind of, you are going to be, I have to do something about this, then you might have to do something about it. But for me, and ordinarily that would be me too, but one of the things I'm going to be teaching myself is don't always click on those little notification things. I do that with Facebook. Sometimes I'll just let notifications build up and build up and build up for a while because I like to have a wee bit of space every now and then. So, yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? Boris is here. Hello, Boris. Glad you're here. And he says, I'm late. No, you're not late, mate. You're not late at all. This was totally unplanned. So, we're all good. Don't need to worry about it. So, Squid Studio says, I'm intrigued by the copy effects plugins, including automation. Does this mean I can now link plugins so changing a parameter on one changes the other? Because that would be amazing. No, that's not what that means, actually. What that means is that if you have a plugin chain on a particular channel in the mixer and you have got automation on that particular channel, let's say you've automated a high pass filter, or you've automated some aspect of a compressor or a reverb tail or anything like that that's in a particular chain, when you copy that to another channel, any automation that you had on the channel to start with will now be copied with the plugin chain to the new chain. All right. So if you've got automation over on this track and you want to basically apply the same effects and the same automation to this other track, or other channel, I should say, because we're in the mixer, you can do that. That is what you can now do in Studio One 6.2. But that's really, really cool. But no, you cannot link two plugins on two different channels together and basically have them kind of work symbiotically, you know, in real time, basically adjusting one, adjust the same thing on the other. No, that's not quite what we're talking about yet. But I'm aware that there is a feature request for that. There is definitely a feature request for that. So you can go and upvote that feature request. Don't make a duplicate, please. Duplicates will get deleted. But please do upvote the feature request for that if it's something that you really, really want, for sure. Let's see. Brett Marley says, Logic and Reason, this is Studio One. Yeah, absolutely. This is Studio One. Shorty Bear is here. He says, evening. Good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here, mate. Radio Top Trumpet, that's my friend Keith. He says, how long before someone asks in community how to install Plus? Yeah. Let me know if you see it and link me to it, because that would entertain me. Billy Morgan says, search macro organizer. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. The macro organizer and being able to search it is very, very cool now. So if I click on this guy over here, look at this. You can now search for anything pretty much that might be available for you. And if it's got a description, if it's already got a shortcut, then you can either change that shortcut or you can go, hey, that's great, it's got that shortcut. And the same if you want to create a new one. Now, like I said, Lucas has done a fantastic job of going over these, because he is the macro king. Second only, I think. Maybe close. First and second would be Rich Cresswell and Lucas, because those guys know how to use macros and how to create them, and they are kind of the genii that we look up to when it comes to macros. I don't really use macros. I'm let's just say a wee bit stuck in my ways. I came up through Cubase and learned how to do things there. And I, by and largely, do things more or less exactly the same way as I have done them for over 30 years in Studio One. Mostly because it works in Studio One. A lot better, actually. It works a lot better. But it works in Studio One, whereas maybe didn't quite work in Cubase. So, Kyle says, there's a lot of space between my ears. Yeah, there's a lot of space between mine as well, mate. And as you can see with the receding hairline, it's getting worse. Don Oliver says, downloaded it and lost my link arrow in Arrange Tools. How do I get it back? Which tool are you talking about? I'm not 100% sure which tool you're talking about, mate. Lost my link arrow and Arrange Tools. How do I get that back? Link arrow. Link arrow. What are you referring to there, mate? I'm not sure what you mean by link arrow. If you mean that this toolbar at the top here has disappeared, well, it's entirely possible that you might have some customization going on. You can go, no, we can go and right click here. And if we click on customize, these are all the things that are in the toolbar. Now, if you find that some of these things that you would expect to see are not there, then you'll need to go and right click and then check all of these boxes, because if you remove all of these, then you won't see them. For example, let's demonstrate this with the video player. So if I go uncheck video player, uncheck scratch pad, now those two are gone. I might be expecting to see those. Or what about the info view? Or auto zoom, or controlling, or the advanced tools. The only thing you'll find is that these tools don't disappear because you can't make them disappear. Because they're not in this list. Basically, anything that's not in this list won't disappear from this bar at the top. So Don, I'm not sure what you're referring to. To be really honest, when you say link tool, I'm not sure what on earth that is. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's close that. On the dual channel effects, please mention that all mixing plugin chain is in series on your computer. I know you had said this before, but we're saying it again. I'm not sure what you mean by dual effects, dual channel effects. But certainly, yes. In the mixer view. If you didn't know this, it is worth knowing this. Any plugins that are on a channel, like they are on this Rhodes channel here, I've got Pedalboard, Xtreme, and MJUC. If I was to continue adding inserts here, basically these are all processed in series. So basically the audio comes in at the top through the gain controls. The first thing it hits is Pedalboard. It gets processed through Pedalboard, then it gets processed through Xtreme, then it gets processed through MJUC. Now, each one of these may well have slightly different plugin latencies. Cool thing is, we've got this guy down here. Total plugin delay, and it's all compensated for because plugin delay compensation is built into Studio One. So basically all of these latencies and everything else is incredibly complex mathematics, but all of these latencies and all of these delays created by different effects, when you get to the main out channel, everything is all compensated for. All right, so if there's a lot of plugin delays, so let's say you've got some really heavy duty plugins running and you've got like 500-600 milliseconds worth of plugin delay latency, all of that is compensated for. That's like half a second of latency that is compensated for in Studio One. So basically it all gets synced up, which means that every audio channel is in time with every other audio channel and so on. That would be that. They get done in series. So if you have loads and loads of plugins, if you have like 10 or 15 plugins on this, guess what's going to happen? Because they are all processed in series, this means these all load up onto just like a single core on your computer. So even if you've got 20 cores on your computer, all of these will load onto one core. And eventually that core is going to max out. And when that happens, that's when you start to see this guy starting to spike. And that's when you start to get crackles, pops, and dropouts and glitches and that kind of thing going on. Because basically you've got one core that is doing a lot of the work and all the other ones are just, chilling out, lying on a beach towel, watching the other one sweat and having a laugh about it. And that's kind of what's going on inside your computer. And then RAM is basically saying, okay, well, if you lazy gits are not going to pick up the slack, then I'm going to. And then you just start getting into trouble. So basically, don't stuff as many plugins in the insert bay on one channel as you possibly can. It's not going to help you. Let's see. What else do we have? They have changed the look of the Workspace's website slightly. In Studio One Plus, let's go take a look. Studio One Plus, Workspaces. It's, slightly. Very, very slightly. Now, I'm not using the dark view. If you guys are used to seeing the dark view, I'm not using that. So I'm using the light theme here. It's very, very subtle. There's some rounded corners here and there, but it's otherwise pretty much exactly as it was, to be honest. But yeah, there are some very, very slight differences, and we've got this nice blue button now over there. What else do we have here? Can you touch on updates to the lyrics track? There were no updates to the lyric track, really. Certainly not in the lyrics track. However, what there was, and I'm going to open up another song for this. We'll open up this one. What we do have is we do have this way in which you can distribute lyrics over notes. And so, for example, let's go and get Notepad out. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I want 9 words in here that are single syllables. So I'm going to say dog, hates cat. Not Kate, that's my wife, and we don't have a dog. Dog hates cat. That's 3, 4. Who hates mouse? So dog hates cat. Who hates mouse? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want 3 more words. Who loves cheese? Not cheeses, cheese. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. We now have our 9 words. So what I can do here is I can select those, do Control A to select them, and I can do Control C to copy them. And then if I select the lyric tool, drop it on that first note, and then if I do paste, now, as you can see, all the words have been distributed to each one of those notes automatically, and they all line up. So now we have this remarkable little tune. Not the greatest melody that I have ever composed in my entire life, nor the greatest set of lyrics ever, but still. And you can have all kinds of fun with this. This is just a really, really, really simple, bare bones, basic demonstration of how this distribution thing works. You can write much more complex rhythmic values, notation values that you want here. And when you add lyrics, providing you have the right number of words versus the right number of notes, so long as those kind of things match, then you are good to go, and they'll all line up. And even if they don't, if you find that they don't quite fit how you want, you can move them. You can go into the note editor, and you can go to lyrics, and you can go, hey, I'm not quite so sure that I like how these line up, and you can just drag and drop where you want them to be, and then you can go back over here, and this will also all update. And then you can print this off, and you can give this to your vocalist and say, hey, sing this. And if you send them these lyrics with these exact notes, every vocalist in the whole world will love you forever. And they'll not charge you for the session. I guarantee it. Kevin says, I can't post a link, so you tell everyone that I'll be following your show tonight. Yes, Kevin's Guitar Stories will be doing a live stream immediately after this one. Billy Morgan has posted it there, so check out his show after that. I will be going to bed, to be honest, I'm afraid, Kevin, because I have had an exceedingly long day. I've been up since about 6 o'clock this morning. And it's been a very long day. So, yeah, so I will definitely be going to bed. And people are liking my my posts over in community already. Let's see. How would hip hop beat makers see the new update? Says Gary Smith. Well, there's not a whole lot for you here at the moment. At the moment. Okay. There is already plenty of cool stuff inside of Studio One for beat makers, which you are very well worth going and checking out all of the stuff that we've got available. There are in Studio One Plus, I have to remind myself to call it Studio One Plus and not Personosphere, but there's a whole ton of stuff in Studio One Plus, loops and sound sets galore that if you're a beat maker, you can just consume, and you can download all of those. If you're a member, you just download them. If you're not a member of Studio One Plus, join, become a member. Most of us here in this chat are members. Not everybody is, but most of us are. And so you can come say hello to us in community. But also, if you are not a member, the only way to get all of those extra content, all of those extra loops and sound sets and things like that, you would just have to buy them from the shop. That's going to add up to quite a lot of money. Whereas for about $15, thereabouts, maybe a wee bit less than that, you can join Studio One Plus, and you can get Studio One plus all of that stuff. Plus, you get Notion and all of the orchestral sounds as well, which is, by the way, Notion is not something to be shrugged at, because Notion has a sample library tailor-made for Notion. It's not just some third-party library. It is a library bespoke created by the London Symphony Orchestra, who, by the way, performed film scores for Indiana Jones, Star Wars, E.T., Jaws, and loads of other film scores, recorded at the world famous Abbey Road Studios, which is where the Beatles recorded, the Who recorded, the Rolling Stones recorded, and in fact where all of those film scores for those films that I mentioned were all recorded there. So it's a great sound library, and it's not to be shrugged at. Boris Dancy says Studio One Plus is a beatmaker's paradise. Absolutely, could not agree more. And Old Break is here. You are brand new. There's a lot of brand new people here. Welcome, Old Break, and all you others who have not seen my show before. By the way, if you're listening to me thinking, this guy speaks with a very, very strange accent, I am from Scotland, and this is effectively the Persona Scotland office. So yeah, I am from Scotland, and I've been doing this for I've been doing live streams and that kind of thing for about 5 years now. I've been making videos for a wee bit longer than that on my channel, and this is what I do when I'm not working for Presonus, because, by the way, I work for Presonus. I'm a Presonus employee for about 4 years, coming up 4. And I love my job at Presonus, and I love the people that I work with. The people that I work with are fantastic, and the stuff that we make is mind-blowing. And so that's a little bit about me. And so for me right now, it is nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. And this is how dedicated I am to you awesome people. That I just love being up this late at night to serve you guys and bring you new content, to answer your questions, and to do deep dives into new features for Studio One like this. This is not part of my job officially. I do this for my channel, for Jonny Lipsham Studios, and I do this because mostly for fun, because I get a big kick out of doing this, and I get a big kick out of serving you guys and seeing you guys taking Presonus products and making them work for you. And I love seeing you guys post your music and community in Studio One Plus, and all over the place in Facebook. I love seeing all of that content that you guys put up there of music that you have made in Studio One. I love that. I get the biggest kick out of that. Really, I do. And that's the thing that drives me not only to get up in the morning and do my job at Presonus, but to do this kind of thing as well. So thank you, everybody. You guys that have been around since the very beginning, people like Bobby Booth and Kyle Draguzia, you guys have been around since the very beginning. I appreciate you guys immeasurably. But also you guys that are brand new here, who have never seen any of my shows before, I appreciate you guys as well. I appreciate you guys coming and checking this out. We're going to run for about 10 more minutes, so if you've got more questions, get them in the chats. I would love to, I'd love to help you out. Let's see. What have I missed here? But yes, Old Break, thank you for all of your very kind love and affection from France. I love France. I've been to France so many times. I've played at jazz festivals in France and loved my time there. And I've been to Paris loads and loads of times. And I've played at the Hollywood Bowl, not the Hollywood Bowl, the Disneyland, that's the place I meant, not Hollywood Bowl at all. I've played at Disneyland Paris a few times, and it's a wonderful city. I love it. It's one of my favorite places in Europe, to be honest. So yes, thank you for tuning in from France, because for you it's going to be even later than it is for me. So I'm not sure which one of us is more mental, you or me. I'm not sure, but I love it all the same. Thank you. Let's see, who else do we have and what else do we have? Don Oliver says, my cut tool transpose tool. That's what's missing. Cut tool transpose tool. Where are you talking about, Don? Are you talking about in the note editor? Is that where you're talking about? You're talking about here? Or you're talking about over here? Cut tool transpose tool. Cut tool transpose tool. Well, there's a cut tool here. I'm not sure there's a transpose tool. But if you're looking for the extended and basic arrow tool in the note editor, if you got it on, it's by default, it's on the extended. Now, when you hover over a note, when it's this thin, it's not going to do a whole lot. You got to make these notes a wee bit fatter. Now you'll see them. So when you're at the bottom, it becomes the knife tool. When you're at the top, it becomes the velocity tool. There's not really a transpose tool here. So I'm kind of struggling to figure out what you're talking about. Don, I'm really sorry, buddy. And I'm pretty sure this is probably frustrating the life out of you as well. But I'm going to hang in here until we get this one understood. So we're both on the same page here, Don. You guys think he's maybe talking about he's talking about Notion, but I don't think he's talking about Notion. I think he would have stated if he was talking about Notion, because there is an update to Notion Mobile, to Notion Mobile 3.2. But we've not really covered that. Let me go back to what Albrecht was saying, because I kind of got distracted a wee bit. This new update changed something about the way to use bus and New York compression. No, not really. Buses are kind of still the same. There's some new stuff to do with how buses work when they are associated with a folder. Let me find that in my guide so I can make sure I'm talking about the right thing. I have to scroll up and find it. Okay, so you're looking at my guide. You shouldn't be looking at my guide. I'm going to put my guide back over here because this is kind of internal information. All right, so linked mute /solo between folder tracks and buses. When a folder track is linked to a bus or a VCA channel, the mute and solo button and commands simply control the linked channel. To unmute all folder subtracks, press Shift while clicking the folder track control mute button. When the folder is not linked to a channel, pressing S will no longer unmute muted tracks. So that's slightly different behavior. I have not featured this yet, but I'm going to do a bit more of a deep dive in this feature because it's a little complex to unpack. But I'm going to do an actual standalone video on this. Disabling a folder track disables linked bus channel. So previously, disabling a folder track linked to a bus channel would disable all the packed tracks, but not the bus channel itself. So the bus channel would remain and everything else would be disabled, right? The disable track command now also disables a linked bus channel and its insert effects. All right, so I will do a bit more of a deep dive into these two particular folder track / bus channel features, which are a little bit more complicated to unpack, and I want to do them justice, which is why I did not feature them in my overview video. But yeah, I will do a standalone video to do with that, and that will come out in the next few days, so that you guys get to see exactly how that works. All right. But yes, doing parallel compression, you can use the splitter tool. That's a great way to do it, is basically do a channel split and put the compressor on one side of the split and go to town with the compressor, and then it sums automatically there, and then you can just kind of set how much you want to send to that compressor on that split. The other way to do it is the more traditional way, which is the way I do it, which is I create a separate bus. And I've actually got videos on my channel where I talk about parallel compression, which is also known as New York compression. But I've got a few videos on parallel compression on my channel, so go check those out. And I show you basically how I do it. Now, some of those videos are a bit old. They use older versions of Studio One, but pretty much you can do exactly how I do it in Studio One 6.2, because those things have not changed. How to do that has not changed. So those videos still kind of stand, albeit they're not in the current version of Studio One. But I am, as we get towards the end of this year, I am starting to go back through my old archive of much older videos, and I'm going to start making up-to-date versions of those videos. It's not that those older videos will go away. There will be a modern, contemporary equivalent of those older videos that will be added to my library of videos. So you'll get to see Jonny from 2023 do parallel compression versus Jonny from 2015 doing parallel compression. And you'll find that maybe I don't necessarily do it the same way anymore, or I have a slight different approach to it. But for the most part, everything, smacking the mic, pretty much everything that I do with parallel compression has not changed. Let's go see if I can help Don, if he's still here. Ski Jump Toes is here. He says, just in your video from earlier, posted on a Cubase forum. That's hysterical. That is so funny. That's incredible. That is really, really funny. Thank you for letting me know about that, Ski Jump Toes. That's just hysterically funny. That my video has been shared on a Cubase forum. That's just too funny. Well, hopefully that will therefore mean that a whole bunch of Cubase people will come over to Studio One, just like I did 10 years ago. That would be great, wouldn't it? Let's see. The image for the Chrome bookmark even updated automatically. Oh, right, okay. Oh, and it just jumped. All the chat jumped. I have to find where I was. Hang on just a second. Don says, how can I go back and reinstall? Basically, you just Uninstalling Studio One is as simple as going to where your programs are stored on your computer, whether you're on a Mac or a PC, and basically either use the uninstaller or use your system uninstaller. There's a built-in uninstaller for your system. So like on a Mac, you can basically you can chuck it in the trash. On a PC, there's a facility in Windows where you can uninstall it from your computer, log into your account, click on products, click on Studio One 6 Professional, download the installer again, run the installer, and make sure you run the correct installer. So not the installer from the last time you install it, but the new one. Make sure you do that, and then load up Studio One. You shouldn't need to activate it because the activation will already be on your computer, and you should be good to go. But some of the reason why you might be seeing missing items up here or anywhere else in Studio One is because of, customize. So, I mean, it doesn't apply to this toolbar down here, but certainly it does up here. If you click customize up here, you got toolbar, inspector. So any of these might have gone. So if you're talking about this guy here, transpose velocity in the instrument track, if you're not seeing this anymore, then make sure that's checked. So go check any of these options here and make sure anything to do with transpose is checked. If you see it unchecked, check that sucker. Transport, make sure all of these guys are checked. Browser, make sure all of these guys are checked, okay? Because if you uncheck any of these, they disappear. All right, so if I go back to the inspector for a second, I don't have the inspector open, but we can do that. Let's open the inspector. So if I go boink, now that's gone. Transpose, gone. Transpose velocity there, transpose velocity gone. Same with routing. I can hide that as well. You can hide any of these. You can turn them off. Instrument part, transpose, velocity. You can get rid of those anytime you want. So make sure all of these are checked. Done. That might be what you need to do. So if you want to get to this, you can do it. I think it's file. Let me just check which menu it is. Yeah, there you go. So if you click on view and then customization, edit customization, this will come up. If you click on this down arrow, if you click on complete, then basically that means everything is active. Or you can go down to bare bones basic minimal, or you can do whatever you want. Or you can have your own user defined one, which is what I'm using right now. But essentially everything is checked. But you can basically turn everything off. Like if I was just like to turn all that off, look what happens to the toolbar. So now my toolbar is extremely basic. But if I turn them all back on, now we've got it back on. Same for the inspector. Right? I can turn all of these off. If I go to transport bar, look at what happens in the transport bar. So now it's literally just stop, play, loop, punch in, and that's about it. But I can bring them all back. All right? Same with the browser. I can get rid of everything. Or I can bring it all back. Okay? So I hope that helps you, Don. Don Oliver at 47. Yeah, I think I just dealt with Don. Let's see. It's 2 a.m., but I am interested by your Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool is way down in England. I'm not in England. I'm in Scotland. TRS is the same as XLR to you, or XLR can be at least a little better. XLR and TRS, they're kind of different cables altogether. XLRs are for microphones for the most part. TRS cables are for, you know, regular jack input for keyboards, guitars, those kind of things. They're different. So you can't really say one is better than the other. Rich says, let's narrow it down a bit more to Don Oliver. He says, would this be in the arranger or the editor? Good question. At the top of the main screen, says Don. And Rich is basically giving him the exact same instructions I did. Basically go to customize and select complete. Yep. Ron Figura says, I've never seen a transpose tool in the toolbar. You know what? I don't think I've ever seen it either. Maybe you had a macro for it. But I don't recall ever seeing a transpose button up here. There's quantize, intelligent quantize, there's various bend marker tools. But no, I don't remember seeing a transpose tool in the toolbar. So, not quite sure what you're referring to by the transpose tool. And certainly the cut tool should not disappear at all. As demonstrated when I went into customize here, notice how in the toolbar, which is this bar at the top here, when I turn everything off, everything is unchecked, all of these tools remain, including the cut tool. So if you're seeing some of these going missing, it could be a problem with your screen resolution. All right, so that's something else to bear in mind. Maybe your screen resolution has got set wonky in some way, and these things are disappearing for some reason. Lucas is here. Lucas, I just seen that you put out a video actually that answers directly one of the questions that was asked here about bus, the new kind of bus options that are available and the folder track options. So go everybody. Check out Lucas's videos on Studio One 6.2. They're freaking awesome. And I've not seen that last one that he's put out, but I can tell you this right now. Lucas's video will be awesome. And I'll tell you why, because he doesn't talk as much as I do. Rich Cresswell says, if the macro page has been reset to defaults, then it just needs to be selected from the drop down on the left. There you go. Bingo. Bill Shepard says the music editing toolbar contains a transpose button. Music editing, that's probably where it is. Transpose. Not seeing one there. And we've got this open. I'm not seeing a transpose tool. Not specifically in this toolbar. There's an option here to transpose, which is up here, but I'm not seeing one specifically in here. You're saying that the cut tool and the transpose tool were gone. And I see a cut tool. I don't see a transpose tool. It's only available from the action menu, as far as I can see here. You know, I'm checking automatically quantize selected notes, quantize time, snap, toggle auto zoom, action, macros. Maybe it's a macro that you're missing. I don't know. But I'm not seeing a transpose tool here at all in this toolbar. And that's what we're all getting confused about. Music editing macro. Yes, it's got to be in the macros. So if we go over to music editing macros, I see part instrument, zoom, trim, select, delete, transpose. Yep, right there. But that would be macros. If it's a macro that's gone missing, then you need to reload the macro toolbar. And Lucas says transpose is under action. Yep, it is. George Mateus says, at Jonny Lipsham, you missed my question. Well, you didn't type at Jonny Lipsham Studio, so it's easy for me to miss if you don't type that. Please restate your question, and I'll try and help you with that. Okay, looks like Rich Questwell has fixed Don Oliver's issue. Bingo, go to the left and select your macro page. That's where it is. See, I knew we'd get there in the end. Where's George Mateus's question? Please help me find George Mateus's question. I'd like to answer that before I end tonight. And I'm scrolling up and I don't see it. I've gone back to like halfway through the show and I'm still not seeing it. Where is George Mateus's question? I've gone all the way right back to the very beginning of the show and I do not see George Mateus's question. So please type your question again, George. I'd appreciate that. Lucas says, also events and tracks have a transposed property. These are the only ways to transpose MIDI. Yep, absolument. And we got Johnny Guy here as well. He says, man, I'm so far behind on all of this. Yeah, don't sweat it, Johnny. Really don't. Because Joe and Gregor have not put out their videos yet. Me and Lucas have got the head start. So you can join us in the head start. Oh, George says, can you move a vocal from the layers into another track? Yes, if you've got a layer in that you've recorded, you can move it into another track. I'm pretty sure you can. Let me see. Yeah, this is one other feature I was going to do a bit more of a standalone video on. But I've got, and this is also a new layer, and I'm all of this where I was just basically chatting into the mic, to be honest. So let's close the console. So we've got nice big, maybe not quite that big. Let's create a new track. And we'll make this mono. We'll park that down the bottom. And let's say we like this layer. I'm pretty sure I can go grab this. Mute layer to track. No, that did not work. What did I do wrong there? I thought you could do this. I thought I could grab this. Maybe you can. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I thought you could actually grab this and just drag it down. Maybe you can. Oh, you have to promote it up to the top. Of course you do. Duh! I'm an idiot. So if I make this the active layer, or if I take 3, there we go. Make this the active layer. And then I can just go boink. Like that, and then I can promote this one up into the active layer there. But now I've got this gap, which I don't want. But I guess I could just remove that layer. And then we closed up the gap. Right click on layer and unpack layer to track. There we go. That's what I'm missing. Except I've right clicked and there's no option. Aha, found it. There we go. Bingo. There we go. That's how you do it. So if I click on this, right click it, unpack layer to track, boink, and it creates a new track. I don't even need this. I don't even need this track, so I can remove that one. It'll create one. So if I go unpack layer to track, bingo, job done. Just like that. Good call and good spot. Thank you, Bill. I knew I was missing something. As Rich Cresswell correctly says, always type at Jonny Lipsham Studios, and therefore it won't be missed. Yes, if I see that highlights my name in red, and then I can pick things out. But if you don't do that, it's going to be a lot harder for me to catch your questions, and then you're going to end up with questions not being answered. Also, if you go to the event at the top layer, you can unpack all layers. Yes, that's also very true. If I right click this, is it in layers? I'm not seeing that option. Not seeing that option that says unpack all layers. Maybe I need to click it here. Ah, there you go. Unpack layers to tracks. There you go. That's what it is. Or I can select content. See, I didn't see this. Urgh. I could have just selected this one at the top here. Damn it. Select layer content, and I could have just selected this one. Or unpack layers to tracks. Bingo. Select take. I can select different take. Unpack takes to new tracks. Bingo. Arg. I didn't see any of those. Fecking heck. That's fecking awesome. If I just right click that event, these are here. Unpack takes to tracks. Unpack takes to new layers. Unpack takes to existing layers. Even better. Event effects. I can add an event effect right here. I can add Melodyne right here. Feck, this is awesome. Unpack layers to tracks. Perfect. So if I've got a bunch of layers and I like them, I can just unpack them to tracks. Just like that. This is freaking awesome. There you go. All right, we are like 20 minutes over time. So I really should be in bed, but this is way too much fun. Johnny Guy says in all caps, he says you can also hold command and drag it right out. Yes, that is another way to do it, but there's all these nice little, neat little menu things that I had missed. But fecking hell, I'm glad I saw those. Oh, okay. All right, so Mike, by all means, launch a Zoom. But dude, I am exhausted. I have been on my feet since 6 o'clock this morning, and it is now 1:15 the following morning. So I am pretty sure the best thing I can do is go and get some beauty sleep. But by all means, Mike, do post a Zoom, and if you guys want to carry on the conversation over there, Mike will be a fantastic host. So please do post it, Mike, and then all of yous can pile in over there, and that'll be fun. So until then, folks, I'm going to leave it there. We'll go back over here. I'm going to leave it there. We've run over by quite a wee bit, but hey, this was way too much fun, and you guys pointed out something that I had totally overlooked, so thank you for doing that. I don't normally miss things, so I'm a wee bit embarrassed that I missed that, but you know what? Who cares? Who cares? It's fine. It's all right. It's fine. But yeah, thank you for helping me out there and pointing those things out that I had missed. So you guys are great. Rich is going to jump on for a few minutes. You know what? I've got a pint of orange juice here, so I might jump on for a few minutes, but I'm not staying long because I need my beauty sleep, mate. I've been up for nearly 24 hours, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, folks, I'm going to bid you all a very, very good night. I'm going to find my other song to go to for the play out. In fact, I might just put the other song on for the play out, not the one I normally use. All right, folks, I'm going to bid you a very good night. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you've watched this, you've not been engaged in the chat, you've got to be subscribed to do that, by the way. If you want to ask questions, hit the subscribe button. Please do be subscribed. Please hit that notification bell. Select all notifications. That way you don't miss these other videos that I'm talking about that are going to be coming down the road. And also, hit the like button as well. That would really help me out as well. And please leave some comments. That also helps me out a lot. And otherwise, I will see you tomorrow night for Songwriting Simplified, where we will continue this discussion then. Have yourselves a very, very good evening. Thanks a lot, folks. Good night.
This recorder, it's really very cool. It makes love it.